Good morning, everyone, and welcome. My name is Leona Agaritas, and I am the Executive Director of the Golden Triangle Business Improvement District. I'd like to start by thanking Mayor Bowser and Deputy Mayor Falchicchio for their leadership throughout the pandemic and their commitment to a reimagined central business district through relief, recovery, and growth. We're happy to host today's event to bring back jobs here in Murrow Park in the Golden Triangle. Investments in public space like you see here and behind you will help bring foot traffic back downtown and support our many small and local businesses. In large cities throughout the country, the job of bringing back jobs will not be easy, especially in central business districts, which are key employment centers. In the Golden Triangle alone, 7 million square feet of office space are vacant. That's a lot of jobs. Mayor Bowser, we want to thank you for your multi-pronged approach to bring back jobs and for investing in growth sectors like technology. The Golden Triangle has been working with George Washington University and the mayor's team to create an innovation district here in this strategic location, centered on Pennsylvania Avenue, where GW, global institutions, nearby residential neighborhoods, and the central business district all intersect. This innovation district will be an engine for job creation, and not just any jobs, but tech-related jobs that will diversify the local economy and make our workforce more resilient and more competitive for the future. It will connect residents to STEM-focused jobs, education, training, and entrepreneurship opportunities. This is a once-in-a-generation opportunity for rethinking our approaches, and thank you, Mayor Bowser, to economic development, real estate, placemaking, and workforce development. We look forward to continuing to work with you, Mayor Bowser, and your team as we all build back stronger. Our next speaker is Mr. Antoine Ford.
Good morning, all. My name is Antoine Ford, President and CEO of Enlighten Incorporated. Also, the board chair for the Workforce Investment Council. When the mayor asked me to chair this board a few years ago, I could not have imagined and predicted what was to come. But we persevered as a city and have a brighter future than ever before. I bring this perspective to what's going to be announced today to reinforce workforce development. See, I believe workforce development has three key pillars. First, we need a government and have a government that provides the means, the measures, and the laws that allow for success. This mayor and her strategy and the budget has exceeded our expectations in providing the means for success, creating programs like career coaches. Imagine over 5,000 people will be coached for jobs, providing computing equipment to be able to address the digital divide and work-based learning. Will provide the means to deliver not just jobs, but careers that will address the wealth gap and make a generational difference. The second pillar that we have is people who want to be a part of this American dream that we have in this city. We have the people that want to be a part of that. We want to be able to provide the jobs for them. But the last pillar, which is so important, is industry. That we need to have industry partners step up and be providers of those careers that people so desperately want. And I notice I did not say jobs, I said careers that people want. People are the fuel that drives industry. And we have the people in this city. We have Director Hughes, who directs the DOES. We have Director Smith, who directs the WIC. And what they've said to me is saying, we need industry to be able to commit to having jobs. And I'm glad to say that industry has heard the message. Organizations like the Federal City Council, the D.C. Chamber of Commerce, University of District of Columbia, and all of our associations are saying we are willing to step up and provide those jobs. One of the things that we're saying is we want to be able to invite businesses in this district to come under the tent to be able to say, we want you to provide jobs. I'm challenging you to be here, provide those careers for individuals. The city has committed This budget has committed to provide training, coaching, and the support services that are needed. I am delighted to introduce, and I'm going to make this statement for the state of Washington, D.C., my mayor and future governor-elect of Washington, D.C., Mayor Muriel Bowser.
Thank you. Well, good morning, everybody. It is really very nice to be here in this wonderful park, Leona. Thank you for this idea, a way to reclaim some space and put it to good use and send a strong signal that office workers right here in the Golden Triangle bid have a nice place to wind down, have a cup of coffee on their way into the office. So today we're here to talk about jobs. Antoine and Leona made that very, very clear. We are grateful to be partners with our business improvement districts, which is a theme in this budget as well, in placemaking, but also in creating new jobs and welcoming all of our workers back. We sent a budget proposal, of course, to the council a couple of weeks ago. It's a big proposal, $17.5 billion. And we can describe that budget in two words, and that's equity and recovery. How do we build back better, of course, using the president's words, and how do we bring back more jobs? And we don't certainly have to convince anybody that the last 16 months have been difficult. At one point during the pandemic, we saw our unemployment rate spike to 11%. We've received over 200,000 jobless claims, and Director Morris Hughes and her team at DOES have distributed more than $2 billion in federal and local unemployment benefits. We see it in these numbers that D.C. residents and businesses have sacrificed much to save lives to get us to the other side of this pandemic. And for that, I thank you. We're very grateful. We know it hasn't been easy, but we also know we have what it takes to come back strong, and we're seeing that each and every day. We are showing what we can do with a big budget proposal. $250 million is the investment that we propose in the coming year to bring back jobs to D.C., and more than $600 million over the next 4 years. We got a big boost from the American Rescue Plan, and we're putting those dollars to work. Those investments include, and I'm just going to highlight a few, $30 million to attract high-impact employers to Washington, D.C. That's a big deal. That gives us another tool, a powerful tool in our toolbox to attract new companies. And don't let anybody tell you that we don't need to be competitive when we're going out to talk to employers about bringing big jobs. Did you hear me? Don't let anybody tell you that we don't need big tools to attract employers to the best city in the world. It's true, we're the best city in the world. But there are a lot of regions and cities out there right now competing with us. And they're not doing it with two hands tied behind their back. And we have to be prepared to compete as well. You know, I like to win. I know Leona likes to win. So we have to make sure that we have what we need. And when we talk about $30 million, we know that those dollars equate to people and equate to workers. And so we want to stay focused on that. We also include $8.1 million to increase funding for great streets and support commercial ownership opportunities for D.C. small businesses. So we hear so much from our businesses that have been impacted, especially our bricks and mortar businesses, by this pandemic, by the lack of foot traffic and daytime traffic. And we know that they will be seeking opportunities for ownership during this time. We have $49 million to dramatically expand subsidized employment and training through apprenticeships including at the DC Infrastructure Academy, and Project Empowerment and WIC partnerships. And so Director Morris Hughes and Director Smith are excited about these investments. So what I often share with my team is that we're going to bet first on our residents. We know we have great residents. We're going to put in place programs that will help them get the training that we need, and we're going to attract the private sector jobs that will offer long-term employment for them. We're excited, as Antoine already said, about career coaching. Another theme of this budget is coaching, connecting our residents to all of the vast opportunities, including housing, that will be available to them. $6 million for rapid reskilling, which will be an opportunity. We know coming out of this pandemic, people thinking about different things to do, and that's exciting too. People have spent 16 months wondering if they're in the right place and on the right track. And this opportunity will let them find the right career track for them. So with that, I'll stop and turn it over to Deputy Mayor Falchicchio and Director Morris Hughes to tell you more.
Well, good morning, everyone. So the mayor asked me to come up here to talk to you a little bit about the budget. But before we get into that, I want to talk a little bit about some of our wins. So I'm John Falchicchio, and I'm the Deputy Mayor for Planning and Economic Development. And DC is on a winning streak. All right? So just let everybody know, when they talk about the comeback, it's already started. We're on a winning streak. So in the last few weeks, these 3 wins happened. So Boston Consulting Group decided to move its headquarters, its regional headquarters, from Maryland into the district. They're going to be setting up at 15th and K. Sabangoli Cook is with us. She's behind me right now, and she knows she was actually behind Moto Refi, moving from Virginia into D.C. They're a company that's going to grow by 3 times in the next few years, and they're going to do it right here in D.C. We also see that D.C. companies themselves are winning. So Prefect Technologies, which is a company that does data that only Antoine could explain what they do, they actually just did a round of funding, and they raised $32 million for their company. They're going to grow by at least 3 times in the next few years. So let's give them a round of applause. So Mayor Bowser, happy to report that D.C. is winning. And Mayor Bowser has made it clear that DemPed has 3 jobs to do. We have to make sure that we continue to build affordable housing for our residents. We have to create jobs, and we have to grow our tax revenue. You can clap for that. So Mayor Bowser talked about a historic investment, $400 million in affordable housing that she's making in just 1 year. $400 million, right? So it was $600 million that we've invested over the last 6 years, but in this year alone, bringing us to $1 billion that Mayor Bowser has invested in our Housing Production Trust Fund. You could clap for that one too. Great. So let's talk today about jobs and tax revenue, and they go hand in hand. What we need to do is make sure that all the office buildings that surround us right now are filled with people who are working every day to provide for their families. Mayor Bowser likes to say that we have to make sure that more Washingtonians get a fair shot. So I'm going to talk to you a little bit about a couple of the investments that the mayor mentioned in the budget that I'm really excited about. Before you leave today, take a moment to look at these boards behind us. There's 2 boards here. They're different. And if you add them up, they tally up to over $250 million in making sure we bring back jobs. So what I need you to do before you leave is take a picture, put it on your social media, use the hashtag #FairShot, and make sure we spread the message. And we talk to our partners on the council and say that investing in jobs is a worthwhile investment, right? So I need your help to do that. So I'm going to talk to you about the Employment Center Vitality and Local Jobs Creation Fund. For short, let's just call it the Vitality Fund. The Vitality Fund is a $30 million commitment that Mayor Bowser has made in order to make sure that we can provide the right incentives to bring employers right here to D.C., not just to be here to D.C., but to hire D.C. residents, right? So we want to grow jobs to make sure that they hire D.C. residents. And what these businesses will commit to, and don't mind the noise, that's just somebody working, that's a good thing, it's a job, right? So what we want to do with this fund is we want to get businesses to commit to stay in the Central Business District, where we are today, for at least 10 years. We want them to create a workforce development program, Antoine, you'll like this, that will offer DC residents career pathways into their business or their field, right? So they've got to make sure that they've got a pathway for our residents into their careers. They've got to commit to do annual contracting with businesses eligible for certification as local business enterprises. So when they come here, we want them to work with our businesses. And we also, now this one's important, and you all are here in person, but there's people watching at home. It's going to require that their employees be on site in the Central Business District for at least 50% of their time, right? And that's important so that they help local businesses. I went to Compass Coffee on 18th Street today. If you're thirsty, check it out a little bit later. But that means that another person is hired, because what this will do, this commitment of $30 million will create 3,000 direct jobs and 9,000 indirect jobs. We need these jobs to come back. You all know that the pandemic was a challenging time for all of us, and our residents and our businesses came together like never before in order to make sure that we got through it together. With that, we need to make sure that businesses have the opportunity to come back and that they have the assistance to do that. So there's plenty of information behind me about the technical assistance hubs, but today we're also highlighting a $2 million investment. That investment is going to help businesses who want to locate here in the Central Business District have the staff support to interact with our office, with the Washington, D.C. Economic Partnership, in order to make sure that they find the right space to locate and grow their business. So another important investment. And then finally, Leona alluded to it earlier, the Golden Triangle Innovation District. This $4 million investment will allow us to attract tech companies. How many people during the pandemic, by a show of hands, did a doctor's appointment through their phone or on their computer? I think it's almost unanimous, except for the reporters who didn't raise their hands, but that's okay. Oh, you did. Sam shook his head. Okay, great. They did too. Reporters are people too. So what this Golden Triangle District is going to do is it's going to make sure that we attract technology companies to this neighborhood right where we are. But it's going to specialize in telehealth and telemedicine and making sure that people are able to connect with some of the businesses that move here, are able to connect with some of the research institutions that are in the neighborhood, like GW University, which is right down the street. So that's what the Golden Triangle Innovation District is all about. It's about creating jobs and opportunity and making sure we have advances in telemedicine, telehealth, to make sure that we're ready for whatever comes our way in the years to come. So that is an investment worthwhile of our district, and we got to make sure that the council sees it that way as well. So with that, I talked a lot about how we create jobs, and I want to bring up our next speaker, who makes sure that DC residents are ready to fill those jobs. She does it well. She makes it look easy. And like my mom used to say, just because she makes it look easy doesn't mean it is. So I want to bring up Dr. Unique Mars-Hughes, the Director of the Department of Employment Services.
Thank you, Mayor Bowser. Thank you, Deputy Mayor Falchicchio. Good morning, everybody. District residents are ready to work. We are eager to reopen, and we are excited to restart our lives. Some folks say we're getting back to normal, but I say normal isn't good enough. And our mayor knows that the old normal is not good enough. Our mayor knows that by reimagining how we utilize our budget, district government can make a transformational change in the lives of Washingtonians. Our mayor knows that by investing almost $6 million in rapid reskilling, we can give Washingtonians without a bachelor's degree a fair shot at getting credentials they need for good-paying, high-demand careers. This is equity. This is an equity-focused program that serves those who have faced ongoing systematic barriers. The career coaches that Mayor Bowser mentioned provided critical connection between employers looking to hire and Washingtonians who are eager to work. Do not be fooled. DC residents are ready to work, and we are eager to restart our lives. Clap for that, y'all. We're moving forward, our vision forward for employment and labor and training, for building stronger bridges between employers and our energetic and talented workforce. Our mayor knows that by investing an additional $9 million in apprenticeships, provides desirable technical skills that allow people to go on to successful careers in construction, IT, healthcare, solar, and other industries. We are building a talent pipeline, but we need your help. We have put together a transformative budget, and it's important that that budget continues on because we are investing in Washingtonians, we are investing in equity, we are investing in hope, and we are ready to work. Mayor Bowser's budget provides the resources needed to give a fair shot at the middle class for Washingtonians across all 8 wards. I'm grateful for her leadership, and we look forward to strengthening our partnership that helps district residents get back to work. And I want to say a special thank you for all of our employer partners, all of our apprenticeship sponsors, and our training providers that have been on the front lines with us. They are ready to get district residents back to work. We are ready to get district residents back to work. And that although the Isley brothers saying we got work to do, at DOES we say it best, we got work to do. Thank you so much.
Okay. Any questions? Any questions? I'll start with press questions, then any community or partner questions, and then I'll stick around to answer questions too. Okay, Mark.
Mayor Bowser, for you and for Director Hughes on unemployment, I guess maybe first.
Let me ask you guys to come up.
Could you had said that we peaked out at about 11. Could you, Director Hughes, or somebody remind us what was unemployment prior to the pandemic? What was the highest unemployment, and what is it today?
Thank you, Seagraves. So pre-pandemic, we were actually at about 5.4%. During the pandemic, we peaked at about 20%. And the last time I checked, I think we were at about 7.5%.
And to follow up on that, can you tell us the dates or the timeline when, are people still getting the federal additional stimulus or additional unemployment benefit now? When would that expire? And
sure.
When would the waivers expire when people would need, like, the requirement to look for work and things like that? Can you kind of give us a timeline on
Sure,
that?
I'd be happy to. So the supplemental UI programs, that is the FPUC, there's a lot of acronyms here, but that's an additional $300 plus up. And the other supplemental UI programs in for us on September 4th. Now, the waivers that you've mentioned, there's actually the 2 issues that are at play here, and let me reassure you before you ask another follow-up question. The District of Columbia at this time does not intend to pull out of the supplemental UI programs because they end in September. But I'd like to remind folks that President Biden called on the Secretary of Labor and all of us state leaders to utilize every single tool that was available to us to get people back to work. And so it's really important to me as the state labor leader here in the District of Columbia that district residents are at the front of the line for all of the jobs that are here in the District of Columbia, because we know we have a transient and mobile workforce. So with that being said, we are looking at all of the tools that are available to us, including work search and some of the other pre-pandemic tools. Everything is on the table, but we're moving in a direction that's going to get people back to work.
Waivers expire? When would people have to start looking for work again and those waivers expire?
So let me say this. We want people who are able and available to look for work now because the District of Columbia is open. So technically those waivers expire in September, but we are looking at every tool that we have in front of us to make sure we can get people back to work and help in doing that.
Are the waivers tied to the public health emergency?
Yeah, so the waivers are current, well, not all of the waivers, but there is 2 waivers that are tied to the public health emergency. But like I said, it doesn't prevent people from applying for jobs and making sure that they don't miss it on these opportunities.
Mayor Bowser, for you, are you planning to ask the council to extend the public health emergency?
Mark, I think I've said before that for health purposes, we don't need the public health emergency anymore. We're fully open. For administrative purposes, dealing with FEMA, we need it. So in the words of Dr. Morris Hughes, we will be looking for every available way to continue to receive our federal reimbursements, but turn off the health emergency. Yes.
I saw some of the numbers here, $30 million, I guess you call for high-impact employers, and then 57.7 to expand access to grocery stores, sit-down restaurants in Ward 7 and 8. Specifically, what does that mean? And what do you get for this?
Sure. So I'll ask John to talk about some specifics, but what it means, Sam, is that when we go out to attract employers, it sometimes means that we will put in front of them a package. And that package can include a lot of things. It could include training for DC residents. It could include help with build out. It could include any number of things, including tax benefits, or all of these things all put together will make us a more attractive site than Northern Virginia or Dallas, Texas. And that's the environment we're working in. We have to be competitive. People have, more than ever, employees have a different idea about how and where they will work. Their employers will begin to reflect that in the choices that they make for work decisions. So we have to come out of this pandemic ready to argue for our destination as where you should invest your corporate dollars and have your workers choose to work. We already know that we have great amenities. We're transit friendly. We're pedestrian friendly. We have great parks. We have great restaurants, nightlife, and culture. All of that is important for workplace decisions. But there are also some bottom line decisions that corporations make. And I'm not sure if they're on these two boards, but we're also making investments in our overall business friendliness. We want people to be able to start a business in DC for $99. All right? Flat. I'm not going to tell you how many hundreds of dollars it takes right now, but it's too many, because they can go other places and it's simpler. So we're making those types of investments as well. And John, if you would address what is also a theme in this budget is access to food. And in places like the downtown and Ward 1 and Ward 6, residents have access to all kinds of fresh food options and grocery and corner stores that have fresh food options and restaurants that have sit down and great takeout and delivery. And the city has to be an investor in making sure the kind of bountiful options that we can see in some places are replicated in others.
Well, Sam, thank you for asking that question, because today we're here talking about a $30 million Vitality Fund to fill up all the offices that you see around us. But Mayor Bowser also has a $58 million Food Access Fund. That Food Access Fund would actually be the tool that we use in order to attract grocers, sit-down restaurants, fast casual restaurants, and all sorts of everything in between in order to make sure that there is the same food access that we have in this neighborhood that we would have in neighborhoods in Wards 7 and 8. And so over the last few years, Mayor Bowser's made investments through one tool, which we call the Neighborhood Prosperity Fund. That's allowed us to attract Good Foods Market, as one example, as a new grocer in Ward 8, which will open up next month. And so with this $58 million, we'll actually really be able to amp up the work that we do in order to bring more food to Ward 7 and 8. And so that can be in the form of supermarkets, but it also could be in the form of local businesses. So there's something within the Food Access Fund, and I know this is a lot of funds, called Nourish DC. What Nourish DC is works with small businesses in Ward 7 and 8 to make sure that they have grant dollars, loans, or even that technical assistance to go from something that happens at home, and everybody knows that person who makes the best pie in the neighborhood, that mom who makes the best crab cake in the neighborhood, and make that into a business where they could actually sell it to their neighbors and find the location, find the way to register their business, like the mayor said, and to actually go out and hire their neighbors as well. So the Food Access Fund, $58 million umbrella to attract everything from supermarkets to that mom and pop food entrepreneur who wants to help their neighborhood and hire their neighbors as well.
That's quite different. I know of the mayor, for example, gave, I think, $1 million to Good Food Market.
Good Foods, yep.
And we asked her about giving money to people, and she said that's what they had to do to get them there. But in terms of these other things, this seems really different. I mean, I've never heard of it anyplace else. And how are you going to make sure it works in Ward 7 and 8?
Well, we're going to make sure it works in Ward 7 and 8 because we have to. It's the right thing to do, and it is all about equity, as Mayor Bowser talks about giving more residents a fair shot. And so we have to have an all-of-the-above strategy, and that's what the $58 million will enable us to do. It'll enable us to get those supermarkets, but also help food entrepreneurs who maybe want to start a business to be able to start that business, grow it, and hire their neighbors.
And Sam, I want to be clear about something. We're not giving people money. We're investing in a business that's going to create jobs and provide food. And I also don't want to leave the impression that the only time we've made those types of investments is in Ward 7 and 8. I can go to grocery stores all over Washington, D.C. and tell you how the district has been involved in those grocery stores. It may have been helping with a tenant lease out, for example, over in Southwest at Waterfront Park. You're probably familiar with Safeway. Well, one of the reasons why Safeway went there is because we have 2 government leases that are right on top of it. So there are all kinds of ways that the district has been involved in attracting retail and restaurants and good quality food to areas all over the city. It's just that we haven't done it as aggressively in Ward 7 and 8, and it's past time that we do. Yes. Any other press questions? I would go to press and I'll come to the community, okay? Yes.
For that $30 million fund, I was curious if that's going to be used to retain existing employers in the city as well as attract new ones, and what the money will come in the form of. Like, will these be cash grants versus tax abatements, or is it flexible?
I don't think we envision tax abatements out of this fund, but it's possible. I think John said it very well, that it's a kind of an all-of-above approach. Not every prospect is going to need the same things. Not every location will need the same things. But we can go down a list of the ways. I just gave you one example of the ways that we've been involved in bringing a grocery to Southwest. Or we could talk about Union Market, how we got involved in making sure that the transportation facilities were good, to all over. And so we should think about it in that way. Except in all of those things, we weren't coming back from a pandemic. We weren't dealing with a changed way of work the way we are now. And so I think that we have to think about all of the economic development tools that we've used as a city in the renaissance of Washington, D.C., and think that we're going to even have to be more intense in the comeback from COVID.
On Friday, Director Hughes testified before the council that some employees with DOAS were not being paid overtime. And I'm just wondering your thoughts on that, and is that limited to just DOAS, or are there other district government agencies who are not paying DC government employees overtime?
I'm not familiar with that question. So I think we pay people that we owe overtime. We don't pay overtime when we don't owe overtime. Is that your question? Okay, hold on.
Sure, I'm happy to answer. So just so everybody is clear, in January, the Department of Labor introduced new classification regulations that changes how an individual is to be paid overtime. What the Committee of Labor and Workforce Development raised was a question from an employee about the amount of overtime. What I don't want to happen is to get distracted from the hundreds of people that work for me that get paid regularly on time and that have processed over $2 billion in unemployment insurance benefits. It's a minor issue that was raised to the to the committee, and it's something that we've looked into with DCHR. So when we have some additional information to share, we will, but for an issue with one or two employees, it's not something that we would raise in this sort of grand way.
Sure.
Have you watched the video from Nellie's?
I saw a snippet on social media.
Can you comment on your thoughts on seeing that? And can you update us on anything from MPD or any investigation that's going on regarding that?
Mark, I really would have to get back to you. I haven't been briefed by MPD. I don't know that MPD has anything. I saw the statement from the restaurant. And I don't know the details, but what I will say is that obviously entrepreneurs enforce rules in their restaurants, but they're not allowed to assault anybody. And if that's a matter for the Metropolitan Police Department, we'll take it up. If there is a human rights concern, residents should also contact our Office of Human Rights, and any complaints will be thoroughly investigated.
The hate crime theme, the 13-year-old who was arrested in Shaw. Do you have any update on that, whether MPD is pursuing hate crime charges in that case?
I don't. Yeah. Come again?
How did the Pride weekend go?
It was. We think it was fantastic. I don't have anything to report. I think that we had some public safety incidents related to crowds. I think they were minor, and so we had thousands of people come out in an event that was usually Pride takes months and months and months to organize. This one I think was organized in several days, so it was modified. It wasn't the same route, and it ended in a rally on Freedom Plaza. So we were thrilled with it. The vice president joined the walk along the way, which I think was very exciting. I went to a restaurant following Pride close to Freedom Plaza that was completely full. And the report I got back from the wait staff was that the rooms were also full in the hotel above. So I think that we're seeing the comeback. Now, I did ask the crowd assembled how many people have been vaccinated. You thought you were going to get away without me talking about vaccination, but they all said yes. But my experience is that even when everybody says yes, there's some people who are not vaccinated. So we had set up a pop-up site close by, and I hope that people took advantage of that as well. Thank you for asking about vaccination. We're getting very close to our 70% all adults vaccinated in D.C. We think we will beat the president's goal of July 1st. That being said, there aren't people vaccinated, and they put themselves, their families, and our comeback at great risk. So, employers, bids, use your convening power to strongly encourage your employees to be vaccinated. The district is open. People say, when are you going to open? We're open. D.C. government is open. All D.C. government employees will be back on July 11th. Where are your employees? Do you have a comeback to work plan for your employees as well? We're happy to share with you some of our documents and how we are getting people back in the office. And one little piece of advice I will offer is try to have different ways or different opportunities that people have before they have to report back in. Maybe it's a social, maybe it's a meet and greet with the staff, maybe it's an award ceremony, something where they're coming in. For some people, it's hard for me to imagine, but for some people, they haven't been in their office since last March. They haven't been on the metro. They haven't walked down the street to see if their coffee shop is there or where they're going to have lunch. They haven't stopped in the park. So they need different opportunities to get out of the kind of the groove that they formed to take care of themselves and their families for this last 16 months and have different opportunities to come back into the work site. You won't be able to tell them today and have them report to work on Monday. So this is a process. We've learned that this is a several-month process. So please, and I know Leona will provide to property owners and tenants if you need some more information on return to work plans. Thank you, everybody.